Hello, this is the Dazzling One, and this week is a little bit different. I'm going to be uploading 2 videos rather than just one for the week, and I was only going to talk about the retail apocalypse. However, as I was getting prepared to record, I was given more insight by the Most High, and I want to share with you in this video about seasons and maturity. Often we hear people talk about seasons and how there's times of blessing and prosperity, and then there's storms and trials and tribulations. And one long-running theme on this channel has been words of encouragement about strongholds, demonic oppression, and dealing with certain things that may fall under the realm of trials and tribulations. And I, for one, can say I'm no stranger to that. If you've lived on this earth, you probably have dealt with some form of a trial or tribulation multiple times in life. And it's easy whenever we're suffering to get caught up in this mindset that if we can only make it to tomorrow, or through this day, or through these next few months, or through these years, that things would get better. And while it sounds innocent within itself, it can actually be more detrimental than we think. And the reason why it can be dangerous for us to think in these ways is because it takes our focus off of the Most High, and we also lose touch with reality to some degree. Often we hear about trauma victims who dissociate, even to the point where they have this sort of out-of-body experience, like they're watching themselves as this horrible event transpires. And I really don't blame them for doing this, even though it's dangerous. But often when we take our focus off of the here and the now and we put it into the future or into the past or into escapist daydreams, it robs us of learning what we're supposed to learn in that moment. It also distances us from the Most High, and we stop relying on Him, we start relying on escapism. And I've been guilty of this as someone who loves to daydream, and also I found myself saying, if I can just make it to the summer, if I could just make it 2 years in advance, and I get there and the pain doesn't subside, it doesn't go away. Similar to how those of us who have wanted something and then we got it, and the material object didn't fix the pain or the hurt that we struggled with. And another way that we can get trapped into believing a sort of lie is when we start telling ourselves, one day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be so strong that nobody's comments will be able to stick and nothing is going to bother me anymore, and I'm gonna know what to say and what to do. Almost like you're a perfect being or godlike. And maybe some of you, this is unrealistic, but for someone who's struggled with perfectionism and wanting to be the best I can be, there's nothing wrong with trying to improve yourself, with putting your best foot forward, with having ambition. However, it also takes our focus again off the Most High, and we rely so much on self. And when we rely so much on self, it creates narcissism and pride. And as I said in a past word of encouragement, many say God doesn't give you more than you can handle. Sometimes what we can't handle are the things that we want. And that's hard for some people to take in, but maybe we're not ready for that season, or we're not working on the Most High's time clock. We may be praying for something, but we're not mature enough yet. And He knows if we were to have that we may slip and slide. There's been things that I wanted, relationships that I felt should have formed that just fell through. And while the enemy definitely can interfere, sometimes the Most High knows that we're not ready for it. An example of this would be, most of the people that I had went to high school with in the past were driving by 16 or 17, whereas I still did not have a car until my junior year of college, which really was my senior year. So I was 21, nearly 22 before I started driving. I had like a license by 18 and a permit at 18, and it's not the end of the world. There's plenty of people who aren't driving who are way older than me. However, I had to rely heavily on my parents and my friends and others to get around because where I live, I don't live in a city, and I can remember feeling like, why don't I have a car yet? And waiting and waiting and waiting. However, when I finally did get a car, I had a place to go and I had a purpose to serve, and the Most High knows, had I been driving sooner, that I may have been faced with certain temptations or certain situations that may not have been good for my walk with Him or in my best interest. So sometimes we're not ready for something yet, and I can accept that. Often often we want to go on our own time clock and our own path, and people get discouraged with their walk with Christ because they're like, I've been praying for this and nothing's happening, or I'm not getting what I want. But it's not always about what we want either. And that's why we should always make sure to pray the desires of our heart align with His. And going back to what I said about feeling as though you're going to reach this point almost of, and I hate to use the words because it sounds very new age, but like enlightenment, ascension, where you're basically unable to be hurt or almost perfect, is unrealistic. And John 15:18-20 says, If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. So right there, Yeshua is just letting us know that no servant is greater than his master, being us. We're not greater than him. We're going to suffer. He dealt with the same temptations we did while on earth. He went through trials and tribulations. And some people have this misconception that serving God means that your life becomes a fairy tale, which it isn't. But that doesn't mean that you should embrace suffering and embrace insecurity or anything negative. What I'm saying is, remember that Yeshua also went through this. He walked the walk that we walked. He understands. And often a lot of this can be remedied by seeking Him and learning what He wants for our life and trusting Him. It's not easy, but it does help. I hope that this message encouraged you and that you have a wonderful week. Be sure to check out my second video for the week. Have a wonderful week. Take care and God bless.